The man stayed crouched, letting Miko press against him, careful not to jostle or startle. The baby's tiny hands twitched, gripping the sleeve of the damp jacket as if holding on to the only solid thing in the rushing chaos. His chest rose and fell in uneven, shallow breaths, each inhale trembling with exhaustion, each exhale a quiet surrender to the relief of safety. Around them, the river continued its low growl, carrying fallen leaves and twigs downstream, indifferent to the small drama on its bank, yet its energy mirrored the tension that had gripped them both moments ago. Miko's eyes darted toward the opposite bank, scanning the shadows where dark shapes moved in a cautious, circular pattern. The mother gorilla had emerged from the undergrowth, her posture tense but measured, muscles coiled as she observed her child. Her low, rumbling murmur seemed almost to hum through the air, a mixture of reassurance and warning. Each flick of her wrist and lift of her head was a silent language, cautious yet intent, teaching the man, too, that patience was as necessary as speed. The man shifted slightly, keeping Miko close but allowing him space to recover. Tiny fingers dug into the fabric of his sleeve, seeking comfort in the only constant nearby. The baby's fur glistened with river water, droplets catching the gray light in tiny, trembling prisms, and he wriggled slightly, a subtle, instinctive gesture toward balance and warmth. The current had left its mark, scratches on his limbs from branches, mud streaked across his forehead, and the weight of sudden fright pressing on his small shoulders. Slowly, Miko's soft whimpers gave way to gentle, cautious sniffing of the damp earth and surrounding grass, his eyes flicking to the man and then to the mother across the shallow water. The mother moved closer, dipping a hand into the river before retreating with deliberate calm, showing him that the water was now safe, that he had survived. Her presence alone radiated patience and cautious relief, a quiet authority that needed no voice to guide her young. The man rose carefully, keeping Miko tucked securely against his chest, moving toward a patch of firmer ground. Each step was deliberate, measured, mindful of the slippery stones and slow current. Miko's small frame relaxed gradually, his tension melting into the warmth and steadiness of the man's arms. The mother stayed at a short distance, watching, rumbling softly, her eyes never leaving her child. A final gust of wind stirred the river reeds, and the baby shifted slightly, as if testing the new safety of solid ground. The man whispered softly, "You're almost there," and Miko's lips pressed into a faint, instinctive curve, tiny hands loosening their grip just enough to show trust without surrender. The river continued its journey downstream, its voice fading behind the quiet rhythm of survival and tentative reunion, leaving only the soft, vigilant presence of a mother and the fragile, trembling heartbeat of a child recently rescued. The baby shifted slightly in the man's arms, tiny fingers curling into the damp fabric for reassurance. His small body trembled, not from fear now, but from the cold and the lingering shock of the river's sudden fury. Each breath was shallow, hesitant, as if testing the safety of this new moment. The man adjusted the jacket around him, keeping Miko close while maintaining a posture of calm respect. He knew any sudden movement could unravel the fragile trust forming between child and mother, between human and wild observer. Across the shallow water, the mother gorilla remained motionless, her dark eyes fixed on the baby with an intensity that held both authority and deep concern. Her body was poised like a coiled spring, yet she made no move to cross the current, only gauging each detail. The slight lift of a head, the careful adjustment of the baby in the man's arms, the quiet murmur of reassurance that passed between them. Each subtle gesture carried meaning, a warning, a test, a silent negotiation of trust. Miko's small gaze flickered toward the mother, and his soft whimpers subsided into tentative sniffing of the air, as if sensing the protective energy radiating from across the river. The man lowered himself to the damp earth, his knees pressing gently into the soft moss, letting Miko's weight shift naturally against him. "You're safe," he murmured, the words as much for himself as for the child, carrying no force, only calm. Around them, rain fell steadily, tapping leaves and stone in a rhythm that seemed to soothe both human and gorilla. Time stretched slowly, measured by the murmuring water and the occasional rustle of forest creatures navigating the wet undergrowth. The mother's posture softened imperceptibly, a subtle relaxation in her shoulders, a flick of her hand toward the river's edge as if signaling permission, but still maintaining the boundary that kept her infant protected. The man waited, motionless yet alert, allowing the natural pace of this delicate reunion to unfold without interference. The baby's tiny fingers unclenched, reaching for the man's sleeve briefly, then resting against his chest. Each small movement reflected a growing sense of safety, a trust earned through quiet patience. Across the river, the mother shifted slightly, eyes never leaving him, murmuring softly, a low, rolling sound that carried reassurance without urgency. Minutes passed in near silence, the rain a soft curtain between worlds, until the tension that had gripped both sides eased, leaving only cautious calm. The man gently adjusted Miko, offering warmth without intrusion, while the mother maintained her watchful presence. In that delicate balance, the forest seemed to breathe with them, each leaf and ripple a witness to trust slowly forming across species. The man remained still, hands folded loosely in front of him, careful not to intrude on the sacred exchange unfolding before him. Miko pressed his tiny face against his mother's chest, fur damp and clinging, tiny fingers curling around her arm with instinctive recognition. Each movement was slow, deliberate, a silent language older than words, measured in breath, touch, and shared understanding. The mother's gaze flicked briefly to the man, assessing, questioning, yet there was no aggression in her eyes, only a watchful curiosity and a quiet acknowledgement of his careful restraint. Miko wriggled slightly, a soft squeak escaping his lips, and the mother adjusted her hold, letting the baby settle closer to her warmth. She tilted her head, nostrils flaring, inhaling the scent of her child and the stranger alike. Each sent a signal, a reassurance, a test. The man exhaled slowly, heart steady, mirroring the rhythm of her movements, an unspoken agreement forming between them. Patience, calm, and respect. The river's current murmured in the background, carrying away the tension of earlier moments, while droplets of rain shimmered on leaves like tiny, suspended lanterns. The mother's hand moved gently over Miko's back, soft pressure guiding him toward security, each stroke deliberate, each motion a quiet hymn of maternal care. The baby's tiny eyes blinked, then closed briefly, surrendering to the gentle reassurance, a trust hard-earned through the slow negotiation of presence and calm. The man inched back, giving space without turning away, a careful acknowledgement of the bond now forming. The mother mirrored the movement with a subtle step forward, asserting no threat, only acceptance of the human's careful role. Miko nestled deeper into her arms, a faint shiver passing through his small frame, not of fear but of relief, the river's chill fading beneath the warmth of reunion. Time folded into itself as the rain continued its soft cadence, each drop a metronome marking the gradual, unspoken understanding between species. The mother's low, rolling murmur blended with the rhythm of the river, a quiet song of recognition and care, while the man remained witness, participant only in restraint and respect. The baby's tiny hands explored briefly, touching the familiar fur and warmth of his mother, then resting again, a delicate pendulum of instinct and comfort. Eventually, the mother adjusted her hold, rocking Miko gently, eyes half-lidded but alert, scanning the surroundings while conveying safety and calm. The man stood slowly, careful, giving room, allowing the natural order to reclaim its pace. The river, the mist, and the soft drizzle bore silent witness to a fragile trust. A bridge formed through patience, gentleness, and shared respect, the baby secure in the only arms that could truly hold him. The mother lingered for a heartbeat longer, her eyes meeting the man's with a clarity that needed no words. Every muscle in her body radiated calm authority, yet there was softness there too, a quiet acknowledgement of the risk he had taken. Her fingers brushed his arm again, lighter this time, a fleeting caress that spoke of trust, of recognition, of a connection that transcended language. Miko nestled deeper into her chest, tiny body warm and relaxed now, his earlier fear replaced by the comfort of reunion. The man remained still, arms lowered, breathing shallow and steady, letting the moment linger without interference. Around them, the forest stirred gently, leaves trembling under the touch of the soft drizzle, the river's murmur steady and calm, a soundtrack to the delicate, wordless conversation between human and gorilla. Each sound, each subtle movement seemed amplified, charged with significance, a quiet testimony to the fragile but undeniable bond forming in the rain-slicked clearing. Miko's small fingers flexed, brushing the fur of his mother's arm as if checking that she was truly there, that safety was real. The mother shifted slightly, cradling him closer, her low, rumbling murmur carrying reassurance through the mist. She paused, briefly glancing back at the man, a careful measurement in her gaze, before turning with deliberate grace, guiding her child toward the cover of the dense forest. Each step was measured, slow, a demonstration that trust was now fully earned. The man exhaled softly, a weight lifting from his chest as the pair moved away, the baby safe and the mother's presence serene and commanding. The mist swirled around the trunks and ferns, catching droplets on moss and leaves, silver threads that caught the faint light filtering through the gray canopy. A pair of birds landed nearby, their soft calls punctuating the quiet, the forest returning to its natural rhythm, alive but no longer tense. For a long moment, he watched the silhouettes vanish among the trees, Miko's small form pressed securely against the mother's chest, her protective arms a living barrier between the child and the wider world. The hand he had touched, the brief, delicate contact, lingered in memory, a simple act of acknowledgement, weighty and profound. Gratitude and recognition passed without speech, a bridge between species, fleeting yet eternal in its significance. The river continued its gentle flow, water sliding over stones with a soft, persistent murmur. The man turned slowly, the drizzle brushing his face, and for a brief moment the clearing held nothing but quiet wonder. Life, fragile yet resilient, continued, a testament to patience, courage, and the subtle ways that trust can be built, one careful gesture at a time. The forest seemed to exhale once more, leaving him with a sense of awe, the memory of a morning when two worlds had met and understood each other without a single word. The forest settled into quiet after the last ripple of the river passed, the drizzle now a fine mist that clung to moss and stone. The mother's silhouette, strong and deliberate, moved steadily through the undergrowth, her baby pressed close, chest rising and falling in calm, measured rhythm. Each step was precise, a gentle negotiation with roots and mud, and every sway of her shoulders spoke of protection earned and trust restored. The riverbank, once alive with frantic splashes and desperate cries, now held only the soft imprint of their passing and the faint scent of damp fur and earth. The man remained rooted for a long moment, absorbing the depth of what he had witnessed. The baby's tiny hand brushing his arm lingered in memory, a delicate imprint of connection, brief yet profound, a silent acknowledgement of courage and care shared across species. The forest seemed to exhale with him, the soft gurgle of water over stone and the distant murmur of leaves carrying the echo of a moment both fragile and eternal. Light filtered through the thinning clouds, scattering across the river in fractured beams that caught the droplets still clinging to leaves, turning the clearing into a lattice of silver threads. Each ray seemed to hold a whisper of the morning's tension, now softened into peace. The distant rustle of branches marked the mother and child's steady retreat, their presence fading but never fully gone, leaving behind a quiet reassurance that life, though delicate, endures through vigilance, love and patient care. The man turned slowly, stepping back along the damp riverbank, boots pressing into soft mud, heart still attuned to the rhythm of the forest. The mist hovered around him, a gentle veil connecting the human world to the wild, a reminder of the unspoken bond forged in a few fleeting moments. Every sound, from the river's steady flow to the soft calls of birds returning to their branches, felt heightened, infused with the weight of shared trust and respect. For a final moment he paused, watching the mist swirl among the ferns and stones, imagining the mother and baby moving through the dense green beyond sight. The world seemed to hold its breath, honoring the quiet miracle that had unfolded, a testament to patience, courage, and the subtle threads that tie all life together. Then, with a slow exhale, he turned fully, letting the forest's hum follow him, carrying the memory as a gentle, enduring echo, a quiet proof of the connection that can exist between beings who have met in trust and left the world richer for it.